We are coming to you with urgent breaking developments out of Israel. And what is unfolding on your screens right now demands a different kind of attention than anything this conflict has produced until this moment. Not because the missiles are falling, they have been falling. Not because the defense systems are struggling, they have been struggling. But because of what Iran has just put in the air. Iran has changed its weapons. That sentence carries more weight than it may appear to on first hearing. Throughout this conflict, Iran has drawn from a broad arsenal, ballistic missiles of varying range and capability, cruise missiles, loitering munitions, systems designed for saturation rather than precision. That breadth of inventory has allowed Iran to sustain wave after wave of strikes while preserving its most capable systems, holding them back, keeping them in reserve for a moment whose significance would justify their use. That moment, according to everything our sources are now indicating, is tonight. The footage arriving from Tel Aviv is different from the footage that has defined this conflict until now. Different not just in scale, though the scale is unlike anything the previous waves produced, but in the way the impacts are landing. In the geometry of the approach paths visible in multiple videos. In the absence of the interceptor trails that have appeared in virtually every previous wave as Israeli and American defense systems fired upward to meet the incoming threat. Those trails, the visible signature of a defense system doing its job, of interceptors climbing toward their targets, are not appearing in the footage from Tel Aviv right now. The interceptors are not launching, or they are launching and they are not reaching anything. And the reason, based on what trajectory analysis and weapons identification is now indicating, is that what Iran has put in the air tonight is not what it has been firing for the previous weeks of this conflict. Iran has activated its top tier. Let us be specific about what that means, because specificity is what this moment requires. Iran's ballistic missile arsenal is not a uniform inventory. It is a hierarchy. At the base of that hierarchy sit the systems Iran fires in quantity, the Shahab variants, the Qiyam, the Zulfiqar, workhorses of the Iranian missile force, capable of reaching Israeli territory, capable of imposing costs, but ultimately systems that the layered Israeli-American defense architecture was designed to defeat and has defeated with meaningful regularity throughout this conflict. Those systems have value in saturation, in volume, in the consumption of interceptors, in the grinding attrition they impose on defense stocks over time. But they are not what is in the air tonight. At the apex of Iran's offensive capability sit two systems that Western analysts have spent years debating, and that Iranian military commanders have spent years protecting from exactly the kind of preemptive strike that opened this conflict. The Khorramshahr-4, the most advanced variant of Iran's longest-range liquid-fueled ballistic missile family, capable of carrying a warhead mass that dwarfs what Iran's other systems can deliver. And the Fatah-2, the upgraded successor to the hypersonic glide vehicle that first appeared in this conflict and forced a complete reassessment of Iranian strike capability when it did. These are not systems Iran fires to impose costs. These are systems Iran fires to end arguments. And they are what the trajectory data is showing in tonight's engagements over Tel Aviv. The Fatah-2 requires specific technical examination because its performance characteristics are precisely what make the defense picture tonight so stark. The original Fatah entered this conflict and immediately demonstrated the gap between what Israeli and American defense architecture was designed to defeat and what Iran had actually built. It maneuvered in terminal phase. It arrived at speeds that compressed the engagement window to seconds. It defeated the predictive intercept calculation that the Patriot PAC-3 depends on by being somewhere other than where the radar said it would be. The Fatah-2 extends every one of those parameters further. Its terminal approach angle is flatter than the original system, which means the radar detection geometry is worse for the defender. A missile descending steeply gives the ground-based radar a relatively clear look at its approach from the moment it clears the radar horizon. A missile arriving at a shallower angle spends more of its flight path below or near the radar horizon, reducing the time between first detection and impact. The Fatah-2 exploits that geometry deliberately. By the time the Patriot radar has established a firm track and computed an intercept solution, the available response window has already collapsed to a point where launching an interceptor is mathematically futile. The interceptor cannot reach the intercept point before the Fatah 2 does. The Khorramshahr 4 presents a different but equally serious challenge. Its trajectory is more conventional. It is a ballistic missile in the traditional sense, following a high arc that the radar can track from early in the flight. But the warhead mass it delivers is in a category that changes the consequence calculation of every impact. And the variant Iran is believed to have been reserving, equipped with a maneuvering re-entry vehicle in its terminal phase, takes a system that the Arrow was theoretically designed to defeat and adds the same maneuvering unpredictability that makes the Fatah 2 so difficult to intercept. A maneuvering re-entry vehicle on a Khorramshahr 4 airframe combines the range and warhead mass of Iran's most powerful ballistic missile with the intercept-defeating characteristics of its hypersonic program. The Arrow's engagement solution depends on predicting where the re-entry vehicle will be. A re-entry vehicle that changes where it is going defeats that prediction by the same physics that the Fatah 2 exploits. The Patriot and Iron Dome were not designed for either of these systems. That is not a criticism of the engineers who built them. It is a statement about the gap between the threat those systems were designed to defeat and the threat that Iran has just introduced into this conflict tonight. Iron Dome was built for Gaza, for Hezbollah, for the slow, low-altitude rocket fire that has characterized the lower end of the threat spectrum Israel has faced for 2 decades. Its radar, its interceptors, its engagement timeline, everything about it was optimized for a problem that is not the problem arriving over Tel Aviv right now. Iron Dome is not failing tonight because something went wrong with it. It is failing tonight because it was never the answer to this question, and it was always known that it was never the answer to this question. The answer was supposed to be the systems above it in the architecture, and those systems are confronting threats that their design parameters did not fully account for. The Patriot PAC-3 MSE is the best ground-based interceptor the United States has ever deployed. Against a conventional ballistic missile following a predictable arc, it is extraordinarily capable. Its hit-to-kill guidance, its radar integration, its intercept geometry, all of it represents decades of American engineering investment. Against a maneuvering hypersonic warhead that is somewhere other than where the radar predicted when the interceptor arrives, that engineering investment is not sufficient. Not because the Patriot is a failed system, because the Fatah 2 was specifically designed to be somewhere other than where the Patriot expects it. Iran did not develop the Fatah program to defeat a generic air defense system. It developed it to defeat Israeli and American air defense systems specifically. The engineers who designed it studied the Patriot. They studied the Arrow. They understood the engagement geometry those systems depend on. And they built a missile that operates in the space those systems cannot reach. Tonight's footage is the product of that engineering decision playing out in real time over one of the most densely populated cities in the Middle East. There is a strategic dimension to Iran's decision to activate its top-tier systems tonight that goes beyond the immediate military picture and requires direct examination. Holding advanced weapons in reserve during a conflict is a decision with a cost. Every day that the Fatah 2 and the Khorramshahr 4 sat in their hardened storage positions rather than being fired was a day that Iran absorbed Israeli and American strikes without deploying its most capable response. That restraint was not weakness, it was calculation. Iran's military command understood that the moment those systems were used, the element of strategic surprise they represented, the gap between what Western analysts believed Iran could do and what Iran could actually do, would be consumed. You can only reveal a capability once. After the first use, the adversary knows what you have, begins to adapt, begins to seek countermeasures, begins to brief allies on the performance envelope. Iran chose tonight to make that revelation. That choice tells you something about how Iran's military command is reading the current state of this conflict. It tells you they believe the moment has arrived where the value of deploying these systems now exceeds the value of continuing to hold them. That the conditions, the state of Israeli defense stocks, the political pressure on the Israeli and American leadership, the international diplomatic environment, are sufficiently favorable that revealing and expending their most capable missiles produces more strategic value tonight than preserving them for later. That is a judgment call. And the footage coming in from Tel Aviv right now is its opening statement. For the Israeli government, the images arriving from Tel Aviv tonight create a category of political crisis that previous waves, severe as they were, did not fully produce. Previous waves could be framed, imperfectly, with strain, but framed, as a defense architecture that was holding under pressure, as a situation in which the damage was significant, but the fundamental protection of Israeli population centers remained operative. Those frames were always contested by the footage, but they could be maintained with enough official confidence to prevent complete collapse of public trust. Tonight, those frames are gone. The images from Tel Aviv are not images of a defense architecture under pressure. They are images of a defense architecture that is not functioning, of missiles arriving at their targets without interception, of an Iranian offensive capability that is not what the comfortable assessment said it was, and that is now demonstrating what it actually is over the skyline of Israel's largest metropolitan area. The question that the Israeli public is asking tonight, and it is a question that no official statement will be able to answer with the confidence the situation demands, is a simple one. If Iran has had these weapons all along, and if these weapons defeat the systems we were told would protect us, what was the plan? That question does not have a comfortable answer, and the footage from Tel Aviv will keep asking it until an answer that matches the images is provided. We are monitoring all incoming footage from Tel Aviv and across the Israeli theater. We are tracking Iranian military communications and weapons identification data from multiple sources. We are following every diplomatic signal still moving through channels that this conflict has not yet closed. What Iran has put in the air tonight is different from what it has fired before. And Tel Aviv, receiving that difference directly and without adequate defense, will look different by morning than it looks in the last footage taken before this wave began. Stay with us. We will not leave this coverage.